with that, bro, like, I listen to podcasts. Podcasts got me through some of that shit, like the inspiration, because I was in my head a lot, and, you know, you ain't doing that shit, and you working, you by yourself, you get lonely, you kind of want to, that music, you play an album over and over, you go crazy eventually. So I switched it up and found the podcast. The podcast started inspiring me to take control of my life and do something with it, and then I kind of put her on the podcast, and I was showing it to her at first. I was just like, hey, you should check them out. They're pretty dope. They're inspirational. You can, like, while you're working, you can learn something new, and they're really entertaining. So she got on them, and then when she found them, she got on them heavy, kind of just like how when I first got on. But she was on just like within like 6 to 8 months of just listening. Maybe like a few months. She was like, we should do one. I was like, nah, not.
Yeah, I was like, we should do a podcast weekend. We're just fucking bullshitting
like,
on the.
I don't even know how to talk.
Okay. Well, so how did you guys come up with the name? You know, Test Tube TV. You know, how did you guys come up with that? That's nice, by the way. Let me say that. I'm gonna appreciate it, bro. I like that.
Shout out to Dini. Yeah, and that actually happened when we came up with that in county, bro. The last time I went to jail, and the final time I went to jail, I met this dude, Dini, and we were just bullshitting there. And I was in a fucked up situation, bro. I was like, I got a case pretty much beat. They still kind of fucked me on it. They still wanted me to do like a month in jail after paying all this money and fighting it 2-3 years on some like strict ass strenuous probation. And I was following it all to the T. I didn't fuck up at it all, bro. But I still ended up doing a month. And I was at a point where I was thinking, damn, bro, I think they just put me in here and they're gonna like try to find something else on me. You know what I mean? Like just get me in and see what they can pull up. And he helped me through that shit, bro. He was the only dude in the pod that was like around my age. And it's funny because like when I first got in there, I was like, I'm gonna have to probably fight him because he was lit, bro. He's turned up, and I was like, fuck, bro, like I can't be like getting checked or nothing and shit like that. You know, I'm like, damn, I don't want to have to fight this fool, but I guess we got to fight. And then, cause he would be just wilding out, bro. I don't know what he was going through at the time, but he started rapping and doing a verse, and I was like, we was on the rec, we were playing basketball, and he was saying, "Bitch, I'm from the 4-6. Country boy smoking backwards, I hate blunts, bitch."
Okay.
You know? And I was like, hey, who is that? I was like, what song is that? He's like, that's me. And I was like, oh, for real? I was like, you rapping? He was like, hell yeah. So that created a bond. Friendship started talking over the music, and he was showing me some shit. And we were like really real similar in a way, you know what I mean, in our situation. And we were watching a documentary, like, make the long story short, we were watching a documentary about test tube babies. Yeah. We're like, what the fuck? They're making babies inside of a test tube? And we're like, dude, there ain't shit going on in jail. We're watching this shit over like a little ass screen in a blunt. And we're looking at each other like, what the fuck? Like, our minds blown. Yeah. And he's like, test tube, baby, what up, test tube, baby? And he started saying, like I was like, we started laughing harder than a bitch. And we started running with it. We'd be like, what up, test tube, baby? Incubator babies. We had all these little slogans, you know, and like levels to this shit of the test tube babies. We're like, yo, y'all all test tube babies. We telling the old heads in the party, yo, you a test tube baby? Oh, you for shit show a test tube baby, straight up out the incubator. Like, and it was, we was like low-key kind of like talking shit, but like kind of like making fun of them, but it was like in a funny way. And it had the whole pot turn. It was like an energy to it. So that's where the name came from. I was like, we kind of talked about doing something, not a podcast, but I was like, bro, we
tried vlogs at first.
I was gonna try to help him with the music because I was interested in producing and engineering, and so that's kind of how the friendship developed. And we stayed in touch until he got out. He had actually TDC time, and then he got out of TDC just recently, here a few months ago, and we still been staying in touch. But I came up with like then she kind of convinced me to do the podcast idea, and I was like, oh, if we do something like that, I was like, we should name it this, because I was like telling him the backstory of it. I was like, once Dini gets out, like he needs to be a part of it and shit like that, and there was energy to it. I was like trying to explain to her the energy, and she was like, yeah, you know, there really is. So that's where we came up with the name. Test Tube.
Definitely. Hey, that's one of the best names I heard so far.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.